The saying, "even a tiger won't eat its cubs," is a reminder of parental instinct to protect their young. Yet in real life, there are fathers and husbands so cruel that their actions defy imagination. The case of Christopher Watts is a chilling example. On August 13, 2018, Shanann Watts and her two daughters, Bella, 4, and Celeste, 3, were reported missing from their home in Frederick, Colorado. Their faces quickly filled news and social media as authorities launched a desperate search for the missing family. Initially, Christopher Watts, Shanann's husband, appeared on television, pleading for his family's safe return. He displayed an image of a grieving husband and father, devastated by their sudden disappearance. However, just 2 days later, Chris was arrested on charges related to their deaths. Despite their seemingly perfect marriage as portrayed on social media, Chris had been secretly dating a co-worker at Anadarko Petroleum, where he worked. He had told his mistress that he and Shanann were in the process of separating. During the summer leading up to the tragedy, Shanann and her daughters had traveled to North Carolina, while Chris spent increasing amounts of time with his new girlfriend. Shanann noticed his growing distance and desperately tried to save their marriage. In the early hours of August 13th, 2018, Shanann returned home at around 2 a.m. after a work trip. That was the last time anyone saw her or her daughters alive. Later that morning, Shanann's colleague, Nicola Toft, who had dropped her off earlier, grew concerned when Shanann didn't show up for work or respond to calls and messages. Nicole learned from Shanann's OBGYN that she had missed a prenatal appointment scheduled for 10 a.m. Overwhelmed with worry, Nicole drove to Shanann's house. On the way, she called Chris, who claimed Shanann had taken the children to a friend's house but didn't specify which friend. Nicole didn't buy his story and alerted the police. The police arrived at the Watts home around noon, nearly the same time as Nicole. They rang the doorbell several times but received no response. The house appeared undisturbed, and Shanann's car was still in the garage. Moments later, Chris returned home. Inside, police found no signs of a struggle. Shanann's keys, wallet, medications, and phone were still in the house, suggesting she hadn't planned to leave for long. However, the bedding from the couple's bed was on the floor, and pillowcases had been tossed into the kitchen trash. During questioning, Chris admitted to a heated but civil conversation with Shanann at 4 a.m., during which he expressed his desire to separate. He claimed that by 5:27 a.m., he had left for work, and that was the last time he saw his wife. Christopher and Shanann had met in 2010 in North Carolina and married on November 3, 2012. They had two daughters, Bella, born December 17, 2013, and Celeste, born July 17, 2015. The family lived in a 5-bedroom house in Colorado, purchased in 2013 through a mortgage. In June 2015, the couple filed for bankruptcy in Colorado, citing a debt of approximately $448,000. The bankruptcy was finalized in October 2015. Shanann later began working as a sales representative for the health and wellness company Lovell, promoting weight loss products and other lifestyle aids. Despite their financial struggles, Shanann's career flourished, earning her an annual income of $80,000 and allowing her to enjoy business trips to destinations like Mexico and the Dominican Republic. Chris occasionally joined Shanann on her business trips, but most of the time, he stayed home to look after their children. Shanann's relationship with her in-laws, however, was fraught with tension. In a message sent a week before her tragic death, Shanann revealed the strain with her in-laws. She explained they had cut ties with her after she became angry when she discovered they gave her daughters ice cream and chips, despite Celeste's food allergies. Following this incident, Shanann's in-laws blocked her on Facebook and did not call their granddaughters on their birthdays. Shanann's mother later revealed that Chris's parents hadn't even attended their wedding. The breaking point came during Shanann's extended visit to North Carolina with her daughters while Chris stayed behind. One evening, Celeste and Bella were left at their grandparents' house, where Celeste was given peanut ice cream, something she was allergic to. Furious, Shanann sent Chris a lengthy message on August 4th, expressing her frustrations. Asterisk, "I've done nothing to your dad, Chris. It's your mom who caused this. I didn't stop your dad from coming to the party or messaging or calling the kids on their birthday. I didn't block anyone on Facebook. Your dad did. They owe our kids an apology. Your family isn't a safe place. Your mom isn't safe. They can say whatever they want, but I've never stopped anyone from loving our children. They chose this path themselves. You might think I created this mess, but I didn't. I stood up for our kids. I don't want apologies when it's too late. Our kids mean everything to me, and I'll protect them from harm. They deserve love like any other child. Your mom knew what she was doing. She's like a demon hurting our daughter. You and your dad are just as guilty if you take her side. I've done nothing wrong and I'm not crazy. I just love our kids too much. Later that morning, Shanann sent another message. I'm not trying to control you. If you want to spend time with your parents, that's fine. Just don't involve our kids, and don't blame me for this. This was your choice. Chris later claimed to investigators that the peanut incident made him consider ending his affair with Nicole Kessinger, his co-worker and mistress, and refocusing on his family. But he didn't follow through. Shanann's third pregnancy brought her joy, but Chris did not share her excitement. When Shanann filmed his reaction to the news, his response was lukewarm. I guess that happens when you want it. On August 7th, Shanann confided in a friend that Chris admitted he was anxious about having a third child, likely due to their financial struggles. He felt content with Bella and Celeste and didn't want more children. On August 9th, Shanann told her friend that Chris had accompanied her to an ultrasound appointment but acted distant, prompting her to cancel the gender reveal party she had been planning. After returning from her trip to North Carolina with the children, Shanann sensed that something was wrong. Chris seemed different. On July 10th, Shanann texted Chris, lamenting how their communication had changed. We don't talk like we used to. You don't even want to talk to me anymore. She later confided to a friend that Chris no longer touched or kissed her as he once did. By August 4th, Shanann was deeply hurt and frustrated. She told a friend that Celeste's birthday party had been canceled and Chris's parents hadn't even called to wish their granddaughter a happy birthday. Shanann also noted that Chris didn't seem to miss her during their time apart. Chris was having an affair with Nicole Kessinger, who told police that Chris claimed he and Shanann were separated and in the process of divorcing. Kessinger said she first visited Chris's home on July 4th, 2018, where he prepared lunch for her. She also revealed that their serious relationship began in late June. On July 4th, Chris told a different story. He claimed he woke up at Nicole Kessinger's house after ignoring several calls from his wife, Shanann. When he told Kessinger he needed to return home, she became furious, accusing him of always putting Shanann first and treating her as the other woman. She told him they should stop seeing each other, but later that day, she called him back to her house. The first recorded call between Chris and Kessinger occurred on July 7th, during which Chris fabricated a story about the events of July 4th to make it seem like he was still devoted to his wife. While Shanann and their daughters were in North Carolina, Chris became deeply engrossed in his new relationship. He and Kessinger went on frequent outings, including visiting a car museum on July 14th and camping near the Great Sand Dunes National Park on July 28th. Kessinger even sent Chris intimate photos, which he admitted made him feel pursued rather than the pursuer. On July 30th, before leaving town to join his family for summer vacation, Chris wrote Kessinger a love letter that included lyrics from the song Down to Earth by Through the Roots. On August 4th, while Chris was away, Kessinger spent 2 hours browsing wedding dresses online, according to data retrieved from her phone. It appeared they had been discussing marriage and a future together. In a later interview with police, Kessinger claimed she had not pressured Chris to leave his family and insisted she was unaware of what happened on August 13th, the day of the murders. When Shanann and her daughters didn't return home as expected, the police issued a missing persons report and requested FBI assistance. Chris quickly became the prime suspect due to several suspicious actions. For instance, on the day his family disappeared, Chris called their daughter's school to unenroll them for the upcoming school year. He also contacted a real estate agent to discuss selling the family home. Police began piecing together Chris's whereabouts during the time of the disappearances. GPS data from his work vehicle revealed that he had driven to the Anadarko oil site, where he was employed. However, this revelation only fueled further investigation. On August 15th, 2018, using drone footage equipped with cameras, authorities discovered a patterned bedsheet at the oil site. The design matched a pillowcase found in the Watts home. That evening, Chris Watts was arrested on suspicion of murder and tampering with bodies. He failed a polygraph test and, after requesting to speak with his father, confessed to killing his wife and revealed the locations of the bodies. On August 16, 2018, police recovered Shanann Watts' body, hastily buried in a shallow grave. Nearby, the bodies of Bella and Celeste were found stuffed into two separate oil tanks. The scene was horrifying, leaving recovery workers shaken to their core. Chris had brutally dismembered his daughter's bodies to fit them into the oil tank openings. Bella's and Celeste's shoulders were fractured to force their small bodies through the 8-inch openings of the tanks. Bella's autopsy revealed oil in her stomach, indicating she was strangled at the site. For 45 agonizing minutes, Bella rode in the truck with the bodies of her mother and sister. Chris had told her that Shanann was sick and needed to go to the hospital. Bella, who resembled her father in both appearance and quiet nature, trusted him. Tragically, her trust cost her life. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's security camera captured the shadow of a child as Chris loaded Shanann's body into the truck, suggesting that Bella was still alive at that moment. The recovery of Bella and Celeste's bodies left even the most seasoned investigators overwhelmed. Bella's body was torn and scalped as Chris forced it through the tank opening. The autopsy of Shanann revealed a 16-week-old fetus, partially expelled due to the pressure Chris exerted while strangling her. This gruesome act likely caused him to retrieve a blanket from the bedroom to wrap her body before dragging it to the truck. Chris initially claimed that it was Shanann Watts who killed their two daughters in a fit of rage after learning about his desire for a separation. According to him, he killed Shanann out of anger upon discovering what she had done, then buried all three bodies. However, investigators didn't believe his story. There was no evidence or signs indicating that Shanann had harmed their daughters. On August 20th, 2018, the Weld County District Attorney charged Chris Watts with 9 criminal counts. 3 counts of first-degree murder, 2 additional counts of first-degree murder involving victims under 12 or in a dependent relationship, 1 count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and 3 counts of tampering with deceased human bodies. After nearly 2 months in custody, Chris pleaded guilty to all charges to avoid the death penalty. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole, an additional 48 years for the unlawful termination of Shanann's pregnancy, and 36 more years for tampering with the victims' bodies. On February 18, 2019, in an interview with Colorado police and prosecutors, joined by an FBI agent, Chris confessed to the murders of his 2 daughters. He provided a detailed account of what happened on the morning of August 13th, but struggled to offer any meaningful explanation for his actions. Today, Chris Watts remains incarcerated in Wisconsin, serving his sentence in solitary confinement for the rest of his life. He admits that the images of his wife and daughters haunt him, tormenting him every day. He is particularly haunted by Bella's last words before he strangled her. "Daddy, please don't do this." When asked about his mindset during the murders, Chris said, "At that moment, I was like a completely different person. If I had been able to think rationally, none of this would have happened. If only I hadn't killed Shanann. Today, I might have a 5-year-old daughter, a 4-year-old daughter, and possibly a 1-year-old son, along with a beautiful wife. But now, I have nothing left." On October 20th, 2019, in the bustling financial district of Zuidas, Amsterdam, a 52-year-old woman named Nima Gillel stepped into a black car. It was an ordinary vehicle, yet it carried her toward a terrifying fate no one could have predicted. The moment the car sped off, Nima had no idea she was stepping into a nightmare. Just hours later, she vanished without a trace, leaving no explanation behind. From that day to this, not a single clue has surfaced about her whereabouts. But the story doesn't end there. Behind her disappearance lies a web of hidden secrets. A chilling connection was uncovered when incriminating photographs surfaced on the phone of one of the world's most notorious criminals. What role did he play in Nima's disappearance? Why were those photos in his possession? These questions hang in the air, waiting for a harrowing truth to be unearthed. Nima Gillel was born on January 4th, 1967 in Morocco. She later moved to the Netherlands, where her life slowly sank into the shadows of the criminal underworld. Naima would eventually earn the moniker Queen of Cocaine Smuggling in the Netherlands. No one knows exactly how she entered this illicit path, as details about her life were always shrouded in secrecy. Naima was a master of evasion, adept at staying out of the authorities' sight and frustrating every attempt to investigate her. It wasn't until 2014, when she was 47, that her name unexpectedly appeared in investigative reports. For the first time, Naima was linked to large-scale drug trafficking operations. Realizing that her name was becoming infamous in the Netherlands, she made the calculated decision to leave her homeland and relocate to Marbella, Spain, a place famous not only for its stunning beaches, but also for being a haven for Europe's most notorious criminal syndicates. In Marbella, Naima was dubbed the Cocaine Queen. It was almost inconceivable that a seemingly mild-mannered, middle-aged woman could be deeply entrenched in such high-stakes criminal activities. Operating from a luxurious villa, she managed her empire by renting out spots in containers transporting bananas and pineapples. These spots were actually compartments holding kilograms of cocaine, making Naima a pivotal player in the international drug trade. Her operations thrived, amassing her a fortune. She splurged on houses in Amsterdam and Spain, extravagant designer clothing, luxury handbags, and dazzling jewelry. Once she even purchased a watch worth over 700,000 euros from two high-end jewelers in Amsterdam and Spain, a testament to her opulent lifestyle. But her insatiable ambition led her to overreach. To maximize profits, Naima resorted to fraud in her drug deals. This greed earned her a host of powerful enemies, ultimately setting her on a path of no return. Naima constantly revised her business strategies, but her latest shift plunged her deeper into peril. She began selling spots in containers for far more cocaine than was actually being shipped, a simple trick that generated enormous profits. However, this deception enraged her buyers, who had paid for goods they never received. As tensions mounted, Naima faced the fallout of her greed-driven choices. Those she had betrayed began plotting revenge, and a storm loomed on the horizon, one from which Naima might never escape. The real disaster struck when two containers carrying pineapples from Costa Rica were discovered. Hidden among the fresh pineapples was a shipment of nearly 4,000 kilograms of cocaine, soon to be uncovered. This was the largest shipment Naima had ever handled, and it was this very incident that pushed her into an irreversibly dangerous situation. The containers lay still at the port of Antwerp, one of the largest ports in the world and a hub for smuggling operations. As word spread that the containers were about to be inspected, Naima and her accomplices descended into a state of panic. They knew that if the shipment was discovered, it would mark the end of everything. Through intercepted messages from their encrypted phones, a chaotic story began to unfold. One of the smugglers, calling Naima Annie, sent her a message saying, "Both containers are scheduled for inspection. We're finished. Auntie, we can't get them out anymore." Another message followed saying, "This is going to cost us a fortune, and we might end up in prison for a long time. Auntie, Costa is going to flip out. Everything is falling apart." The name Costa was the key to what would come next. Costa, identified as Roger P., a seasoned Dutch cocaine trafficker, had deep ties to Naima, with the situation spiraling beyond repair. Naima quickly sent a message to Costa. "We just need to start over and come up with a temporary story." Costa's reply was short, "Okay." But Costa was no fool. He began to doubt everything, and from that moment on, Naima's fate grew ever more fragile. With no way out and her time running out, her world was collapsing quickly. By March 2021, Belgian and Dutch police had uncovered critical clues that could be connected to Naima Jillal. In a large warehouse at the port of Antwerp, they found a handbag and several pieces of women's clothing. But what made this discovery odd was that these items weren't carelessly tossed into some dark corner. No, they had been deliberately hidden beneath a layer of cement, as if someone had gone to great lengths to conceal a deadly secret. With the help of sniffer dogs and ground-penetrating radar, the police confirmed that something was concealed beneath the cement floor. The freshly poured cement made the search even more difficult. The authorities were forced to use considerable force to break through the thick cement to uncover any clues. After a long effort, they discovered the handbag and women's clothing. However, the one thing they hoped to find, Naima Jillal herself, was not there. An unexpected detail made this discovery even more shocking. The The warehouse where the evidence was found was the same place where a large shipment of cocaine, which Naima had previously been linked to, had been uncovered. Could this be a mere coincidence, or was a darker truth hidden beneath it all? What was uncovered next was even more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. The police received intel from underground sources about a series of photographs circulating at a rapid pace. These photos were described as chilling. Initially, the police had not seen the images firsthand, but based on the information they gathered, the photos depicted Naima Jillal in an extremely dangerous situation, likely facing her own death. One of the photos was even more haunting and disturbing, showing tragic and sorrowful images, though the police had yet to verify them. Then a major turning point occurred. A hack into the encrypted messaging service Sky, ECC, allowed the police to access these photos. What was even more astonishing, however, was that the photos were found on a phone belonging to Ridwan Taghi, one of the most infamous criminals in the world, the leader of a feared drug cartel who had terrorized the Netherlands. After analyzing the metadata of the photos, everything became clearer than ever. These pictures were taken in the early hours of October 21st, a critical time that might mark the fateful moment for Naima Jillal. Do you remember? On the evening of October 20th, 2019, Naima Jillal had stepped into a black car, unaware that it would become her final journey, a descent into an unrelenting nightmare. The hours that followed were undoubtedly filled with terror, moments Naima herself could never have imagined. Ridwan Taghi's lawyer, Inez Wesky, continually denied all accusations, asserting that the phone where the police discovered the photos did not belong to her client. But no matter how firmly she insisted, it couldn't erase the traces linking Taghi to Naima's disappearance. Another figure emerged in the case. Jos L., known as Bal Jos, a Dutch criminal born in 1991 who had swiftly climbed to the upper echelons of the underworld. Despite his youth, Jos was infamous for his brutality. A man cold and unfeeling, unhesitant to unleash his fury on anyone who dared stand in his way. As the police delved deeper into their investigation, they uncovered that Jos L. had business ties to Costa, a seasoned smuggler, and as if in a chilling loop, Costa was directly connected to Naima Jillal. All clues pointed to one undeniable fact. Jos L. had invested a significant sum in the cocaine shipment seized by authorities at the port of Antwerp. The true storm began when Jos confronted Costa, demanding to know who was responsible for the catastrophic failure. Costa wasted no time in pointing the finger at Naima Jillal, claiming she was the one to blame. Jos L. didn't take the accusation lightly. He insisted that Naima explain herself and demanded a face-to-face meeting with her. However, events took a darker turn than Naima could have anticipated. Her explanations failed to quell Jos's rage. In the ruthless world of organized crime, words are rarely enough. The only way Naima could pay this deadly debt was with her life. By 2023, more than 3 years after Naima Jillal's mysterious disappearance, her whereabouts remained unknown. Her family had lost all contact with her, and there were no leads on where she might be hiding. Despite arrests made during the investigation, the case had stagnated, with no new developments in sight. The Dutch police offered a €10,000 reward for any information leading to Naima's discovery, yet no credible tips have surfaced. The looming questions remain. Is she still alive? Will we ever uncover the truth behind her vanishing? It seems Naima Jillal may have disappeared from the world forever without a trace. Without an answer. Once a woman who rose powerfully in her domain, she had plunged into an abyss from which there was no escape. Her downfall came with a speed so breathtaking it felt like a whirlwind, one that no one could withstand. Naima had gone too far, and the price she paid was immeasurable. In court, Costa vehemently denied any involvement, maintaining that he knew nothing of Naima's disappearance. Meanwhile, Jos L., the haunting name in the criminal underworld, remains on the run. His lawyer was quick to dismiss any connections between him and Naima's mysterious fate. Still, the question lingers. Why did Jos L. have those horrifying photos on his phone? What dark secrets is he hiding? At the same time, Ridwan Taghi's lawyer, Inez Wesky, publicly insisted that her client had absolutely no involvement in Naima Jillal's disappearance. However, the photographs remain like haunting shadows, with no one able to explain why Taghi was in possession of them. Currently serving a life sentence in a maximum security prison in the Netherlands, Taghi might have nothing left to lose. Could he finally reveal the truth behind those photographs and his potential role in Naima Jill's vanishing? The cost of his silence is immense. Throughout the trials, Taghi maintained an impenetrable wall of silence, refusing to give even the faintest hint of what he might know. Will we ever uncover the truth? Or will these dark secrets remain forever shrouded in mystery? The final question lingers unanswered. Will Naima Jill ever reappear, or will she remain a question mark in this endlessly perplexing case? What do you think about this story? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. See you in the next video.